All right, well, this is fun. I haven't done this in a long time. Feels like a long time. So this is about LCU, Lifestyle Christianity University. Um, I wanted to make just a quick video because I'm back in Bozeman. Praise the Lord. Back in Montana, as most you can tell, living a great life. But yeah, so obviously, the whole thing left LCU, all that jazz. But I was hopeful for positive change, and there seemed to maybe be hints of positive change at the school and within leadership and stuff like that. And was hopeful for it. And yeah, I've just had some updates, and for the sake of kind of putting this behind, moving on, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, I put my piece out there. I let people know that I don't believe it's healthy. It's theologically irresponsible, um, in a lot of ways. But yeah. So just wanted to kind of share a couple things, and I do this. It's like a review almost. Like the reviews show you that you can trust the business for what they're saying, and so this is kind of like a review for the discernment, you should maybe say, that I want to bring up to you guys, my discernment for the school that I went to, um, and loved for a while, poured into financially, big time. But so I'll just say this. So probably in April, 1st of April, I sent there was a guy, and I'll just keep names private because I don't know if I have permission to say him or not, so it doesn't really matter. But there was a guy that would teach there a couple times a year, and he would teach at LCU, and we'd been in contact about a lot of this stuff, and he saw a lot of things I was saying, not initially, but eventually, and he's like, had some good conversations, and in April, I was in California doing some door-to-door sales work, and he asked me to write a paper, and it would get to pastoral, or it would get to Todd White, that is, and hopefully there'd be some change from it. So I wrote, I sat down in the coffee shop, took like an off day from work, and wrote a pretty good sized paper on, very loving, wanting restoration, wanting to be able to recommend the school, wanting to be able to, have a healthy place that people can go and pursue God and get led in the right direction. But anyway, so I wrote my paper. It was like 8 or 9 pages, something like that. There was like 4 different sections, my 4 biggest issues with the school. And, I sent it to him, and this was back like April 1st, right around that time. And so, it's been April, May, June, 3.5 months or so. So I followed up with the guy, and maybe I shouldn't have said guy because it's a little too, but anyways, followed up with the guy. And I said, hey, what's up, bro? Figured it's been a while since we've talked. Wanted to see how everything was going, and was curious if that letter ever made it to Todd, or if you've seen significant change in the right direction. LCU. Hope you're doing well. So obviously my question isn't looking for problems. It's hoping there's change in the right direction. Guy says back, hey, man, unfortunately, the board was utterly non-responsive to all my appeals, and at this point I have no relationship with LCU. My letter, which I'm guessing he wrote a letter as well, my letter did make it to Todd, and he and I spoke briefly, but there was no resolution. So, yeah, there has been, this light is coming in hot on my face. Let me shift over a bit. So, yeah, there is no resolution. They have clearly very little desire to change or to reform or to correct to the, Orthodox Christianity in a lot of ways, and yeah, it's concerning. But obviously, that's all in the past. I say this as a final. In April, I'd hoped there was going to be some positive change. I probably had hinted at some things earlier that there'd, hopefully some positive change, and it does not seem that way. And then one lady messaged me yesterday, and or was it yesterday? July 12th, 3 days ago now. Oh no, that was yesterday. And it's just something cool that she wrote. And obviously this is just like another review, giving you maybe some confidence too, you know, just because something really feels good and you feel the spirit on it doesn't necessarily mean that it's true or right. And maybe your feelings are deceptive. But anyways, what she said was, hey, just wanted to let you know how appreciative I am for you and others who has taken a stand for truth and righteousness in regards to the theology that Lifestyle has taught. Sorting through the what is true, crying out to the Lord for clarity regarding some of the theologies that we were indoctrinated by has made it for a very unique season. But I honestly remember that a turning point for me had been coming across some of your posts you made on social media. And she said, thank you for responding to me. Your response to Lifestyle has honestly been some of the most graciously handled that I have seen, without compromising truth of the gospel or the validity of your concerns. It's honestly taken a while for me to process what I believe is true in the midst of their and other charismatic centers' theologies. That being said, I am so sorry it's taken this long to respond to you. I think I wanted to be able to lay a better biblical foundation for my end of the discussion before responding, and then I realized at least a couple months later that it had been embarrassing long, which I totally forgot to, so no worries. But I've been watching some of your videos you made this week and really appreciate your perspective on some aspects of Lifestyle I hadn't really thought about, on how some of the less blatantly blasphemous teachings taught here stood up to time tried historically practiced truths. Anyways, just want to say thank you. So, boy, the sun is setting, and it's probably gonna be a beautiful sunset, but it's right in my eyes. So all that to be said, let's move over here. Oh boy, it just falling. Going through the cracks. There we go. All that to be said, yeah. Hope you guys are doing well. I had a fun season of poking the bear of LCU, and I don't know. Some of it was fun because I'm a bit of a, I like a little excitement. I don't mind offending some people if it means what's right. And yeah. Anyways, it was a fun season. It was a necessary season in my life. And that is it. Hope you enjoyed those videos I made. Go back and watch some of them. I actually, one of my good friends, well, I was really good friends with his son, but I would call him a good friend now. He was the dad. He's a pastor, and I was playing in was it a softball tournament? Oh, it was at a wedding we saw, and he's like, some of your videos I actually, really enjoyed and used part of it in some of the sermons I taught. So I would say, don't just believe all the videos at face value, but I put a lot of time and study into them, so they're not half bad, and yeah, they're worthwhile to watch or listen. So anyways, this is an update. Just wanted to fill you in that, yeah, LCU is, thankful for what the Lord taught me there, thankful for everyone that I met there, and, experienced a lot of love from those people there, and a lot of community and friendship, and yeah, a lot of great things there, a lot of beautiful people there, which is the truth. But yeah, it's not a healthy place to be, theologically, and that matters a lot. And how you view God, how your relationship with God grows, and how you view the world, how you view a lot of things that lead to a lot of confusion if taught incorrectly. But yeah, great people there, and I don't recommend it. Surprise, surprise. But yeah, one of the guys who taught there, has nothing to do with it anymore, and tried, I'm guessing, a pretty decent effort to bring his appeals to the board, and there was zero concession, and they, They have their beliefs. They have their teachings. A lot of them do not align with Orthodox historical Christianity. Some of them do, you know, around a lot of different topics, but some major ones don't. And, you know, it's kind of like we talk about Mormons, and yeah, but they believe a lot of similar things, but their core is really off, and that matters. And I'm not saying these guys are as far off, but some of their theologies are pretty blasphemous. I don't know. We don't gotta get into it, but that's the update. Hope has Justin Peters, who actually I think lives here in Bozeman, says, "I hope this finds you well." He always says that. He's an interesting guy. I think he goes to Grace Bible Church, which I'm gonna check out here in Bozeman. Hopefully I run into him, have some good conversations with him. He put some good videos out there. He's not a big fan of Lifestyle or Todd, but you know, he's got his perspectives and his beliefs. But someone I genuinely trust theologically. But hope this finds you well. You know, this is probably the last video I'll make regarding LCU. I'm sure I'll get back into making, now that I'm like established back in Bozeman, get back into making maybe some, you know, some topical videos on, you know, well, let's just go into one right now. While I should have been listening in church, I was researching some, let's just leave this. Okay, so in Genesis 6:3, God says that, you know, my spirit won't live in man past 120 years or something like that. Let me just read it real quick because I'm terribly paraphrasing. But let me tell you what this means, because this is going to blow your mind. So stick around for just 10 seconds because I'm just going to give you a teaser. Okay, Genesis, 1 second, 6:3. Then, here we go. Then the Lord said, "My spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal. Their days will be 120 years. Here's what I grew up believing this to be my whole life, that people won't live past 120 years in their age, you know. That's not what that means. That's crazy. You're going to say, no, you're wrong, Cliff. That's what it means. I've been taught my whole life. No, that's not what it means. Because guess what? People long after that decree in Genesis 6:3 lived for 900 years, 700 years, 800 years, 500 years, 600 years, hundreds of years. Not until Moses was 979 years after God made this statement that my spirit will not dwell in man, or however it said, for 120 years. It was 979 years to 1200 years, somewhere in that time period is when Moses died. And he lived to 120, but there's been obviously people after that have lived over 120. There's oldest people today that are like 125 or 135, you know, like things like that. And what it's saying is Noah, this is crazy, Noah was 480 years old when God made this decree. 480 years old plus 120 years was Noah would be 600 years old. And at that age, God flooded the earth and wiped out man from the earth. 120 years, pretty much exactly. I don't know if to the day, but 120 years after God made this decree, making his words so valid and true. Because you ever wonder, like, how does this make sense, God? People are living 120 years after you said they won't live 120 years, and people today still live a little bit past 120. This doesn't make sense. We've been taught wrong. It's, a harmless mistake, I'm sure. But yeah, the Lord said, "My spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal. Their days will be 120 years. Flood came, wiped them out. 120, 480 years old to 600. Noah's lifespan. Boom. There's a little tidbit for you. There is some information to say maybe it was also a double meaning to, because obviously the age, mortality, whatever you want to call it. Everyone's age span, lifespan. There we go. Their lifespan did drop, significantly over time. So there could be a double meaning to it, but the main meaning was he's prophesying the flood. There you go. Love you guys.